fire, fire for fire, fire.
The hunt for America's smartest killer. Me! I'm a killer.
My motive for doing what I am going to do is simply personal revenge. I do not expect to accomplish anything by it.
Ooh.
Lincoln, Montana, 1996. This cabin is the chosen home of Theodore J. Kaczynski.
Oh, it's
more commonly known
Kaczynski!
as the Unabomber.
Oh my god,
He's long been feared
dude.
as America's smartest criminal, a serial bomber who's killed and wounded targets across the country with no clear connection.
Dude, he was
For 17
scary,
years,
man.
he's eluded the FBI. It's the largest, most expensive manhunt in the Bureau's history.
He
He's
went
the
all
evil
over.
genius they simply can't catch. Likely history's most intellectual serial killer. He's terrorized the nation, instilling fear in Americans about opening their mail and getting on planes. And he did it all from his cabin.
That is terrifying,
Here is
man.
where he built his bombs, where he wrote his manifesto, and where he evaded capture for nearly 2 decades.
Exceptionally evil but smart.
It's where he turned from
Disney
off-the-grid recluse
villain-esque.
to world-famous murderer.
People
This cabin
probably
contains all
idolize
the
him.
evidence the FBI will need to convict him. It's located deep in the Montana wilderness. Back in 1969, Ted moved.
Did you really have to add that? My boss added a fucking Unabomber emote. Bro, I'm gonna get arrested!
Moved here from California,
You guys
where he
are
left behind a shining career as a
awful!
math professor at UC Berkeley. He wanted to get closer to nature and
Oh my
far away
God.
from everyone who pisses him off.
Yo,
Which is
me
most
too!
people.
Yo, me too. Chat, I won't hurt you.
Built this cabin with his brother, back when Ted still talked to him. It's got no electricity, no plumbing, just a wood stove, a bed, and a whole lot
Ooh,
of
some
books.
Tide Pods, tasty.
Right now, Ted is building another bomb. They're meticulously crafted, and he's continuously improving his technique.
Damn,
Every
dude.
year, they become more lethal. In fact, he's got another one under his bed, wrapped and ready to go. But he won't get a chance to send it, because despite his intellect, he made some pretty dumb mistakes.
Ooh. That's the emotion. Dude, look at this intro! Yo, what's that new show? What is it called? Do you guys know what I'm talking about? It reminds me of that. Is it AI? I don't know. Maybe. Severance? Yeah, it reminds me of Severance! Yes. I watched that for like 1 season and then I forgot about it because I was tired. This is high production, bro. It doesn't look like AI, to be honest. I think it looks pretty generated. All for Ted Kaczynski, bro. Good fucking song, man.
This video is largely based on these 2 books. Links are in the description.
Okay, thank you.
We attribute the social and psychological problems of modern society to the fact that that society requires people to live under conditions radically different from those under which the human race evolved.
Was he wrong, though, chat? Was he wrong? I don't know. We live in a society.
Born in 1942, Ted grows up in a pretty average family in the suburbs of Chicago.
Uh-oh,
They're
Chicago,
working-class
the root
Polish
of all
Americans. His parents are politically progressive, bookish and intellectual,
evil.
and really into the outdoors.
High IQ.
They're strict but loving. At least, that's how they remember it. It becomes obvious at a young age that Ted is exceptionally gifted, so his parents push him to succeed. He skips 2 grades and easily aces every class.
Wow!
He's a
Wait, that's insane.
A normal kid for someone with an IQ of 168.
Wow.
Sure, Ted is quiet, shy around girls, and arrogant, but he has a core circle of friends and plenty of hobbies.
That's good.
Like his parents and brother, he loves playing music, reading, and camping.
Aww.
People like Ted. They'll later remember him as a
So
sensitive,
cute.
respectful kid.
It kind of like really blows your mind to know that like someone could be so horrible and be a killer and then actually have like a background that humanizes them. Like, I know people will be like, oh, Lena thinks she's cute, like killers are cute. It's like, no, man. There's an innocence to being a child. Yeah, you think he was like evil back then? I don't know.
All that starts to
I
change
don't think so.
when Ted enrolls at Harvard University at just 16 years old.
Wow.
Like many college freshmen, Ted struggles to adjust.
16?
Here, he no longer feels like the smartest person in every room. And as a working class kid thrown into the world of America's elite, he's a fish out of water.
Oh.
Other students and even
pressure,
faculty
man.
mock his shabby clothes and blue-collar background.
Aww.
He's deeply bothered by their snobbery.
Oh man, that kind of hits hard, doesn't it, chat, dude? Yeah, I remember, like, when we had, like, days where we could dress up. Not dress up, because, like, I went to school where you had to wear a uniform. People made fun of you if you wore the same clothes, like, twice.
Pain that will follow him through life.
Aww. I hated college, low-key. For the most
Ted's
part.
also just really young. Younger than almost everyone else on campus. As an adult, Ted will write his mother furious letters about this. He demands apologies for pushing him out of the house before he was ready.
Aww.
Ted becomes depressed, and his
that's
grades
fair.
suffer. His classmates describe him as a total loner, moody, rude, and
Yes,
virtually
Boing
mute.
Boing is here.
He's
Thank
that guy
you,
on the dorm
chat.
floor who only leaves his room to go to class, who ignores everyone else, who slams doors. There's a stench of rotting food wafting from his room.
Ew.
Ted doesn't know it yet, but his withdrawn and alienated demeanor has caught the eye of a psychology professor. Dr. Henry A. Murray is very famous, with an on-campus research center named after him. He's basically a god in the social sciences. Murray is looking out for particular types of students, those who will make excellent guinea pigs for an experiment.
Haha!
His final, most elaborate experiment.
Yeah!
The
Guinea
capstone
pig.
of a long and illustrious career. It also happens to be a CIA-funded project.
No! Did they do that to students? That's so fucked up!
Designed to cause extreme distress.
Chat, keep in mind, I know who the Unabomber is, and I know, like, vague little tidbits of information, but I had no idea about this. That's so fucked
And
up.
break down the subject's sense of self.
Oh my god! Would the American government do that?
of damage, and it does appear that the FBI is not going to catch us anytime soon. The FBI is a joke.
True, based, and real.
It's the 1970s in San Francisco. The city is a hotbed of anti-government activity.
Oh yeah.
There's outrage over the Vietnam War. Protest bombings are a regular occurrence. Explosions happen every week up through the mid-80s. The FBI dubs it the
Damn.
Belfast of North America. Radical far-left groups like the Weather
That's kind of hard to believe. Now that what's happening in the world. Damn.
Underground and the Symbionese Liberation Army
That's crazy.
claim credit for many of the bombings. So most of the cases are pretty straightforward in terms of understanding motive and perpetrator. But amidst all of this, the FBI's San Francisco bomb squad makes a shocking discovery. 12 mysterious, similarly built bombs can be linked to one elusive killer or group. They have next to nothing to go on. Just for whatever unknown reason, this string of explosives seems to target universities and airlines.
What?
Whoever is building these bombs is an expert crafter, and careful to not leave any DNA behind.
That's
Not a
fucking
hair,
insane.
not a fiber. They're encased in beautiful handmade wooden boxes. There are no eyewitnesses to the bombings, and no letters from organizations claiming credit. The victims appear to be scattershot of random people. The unknown perpetrator is referred to by the code Unabomb, for university and airline bomber. So far, his bombs have killed one
Unabomber.
person and injured 20 others across 5 different states. Unlucky recipients of the Unabomber's early packages include a campus security guard, a handful of graduate students and professors, a secretary, an airline executive, and passengers on a flight from Chicago to DC.
The
Some are
O'Hare
injured quite
flight,
badly.
yeah.
The first death is in 1985, Hugh Scruton, a guy who owned a computer store in Sacramento and was about to get married. What does he have to do with anything at all?
Yeah. What happened?
Far away in his cabin, Ted reads about his death and chuckles to himself. He hears that the FBI offers a $25,000 reward for any information.
It's
He's
me.
flattered. The Unabomber is making waves. Not bad for the actions of one man in a 10 by 12 foot shack with no electricity, running water, or phone service.
He's a
Pretty hard
hermit,
to imagine
chat.
now. These days, connection isn't optional. It's how we get around, check in, look stuff up, call for help, all of it. That's where Saley comes in. With affordable global data in over 200 destinations and regions, Saley is the eSIM provider that keeps you online while abroad.
There it is.
Forget hunting down local SIM cards or getting slammed by
No,
roaming
chat, I'm not
charges.
just gonna
With
skip
Saley,
ads,
you'll be
don't
covered before
ask.
you even leave home. Just download the app, pick your destination, and activate your plan. Once you arrive at your destination, your Saley data plan will activate automatically, and you'll never get stranded without service again.
No.
Saley gives you a heads up when your data is running low. You can top up in seconds. Simply download the Saley app and use code FERNTV to get an exclusive 15% discount on your first purchase. Money back guarantee in case your device is not compatible. Back to Ted. Here in his cabin, he's got everything he needs.
Download
Snowshoes,
Solitaire.
maps, a homemade chair, a cot, a typewriter, and
He's
hundreds
got
of books.
nothing. And again, he's so fucking smart. I feel like when you're above a certain intelligence, like, I'm not saying I'm smart, I'm saying, like, anyone above that, like, I feel like when you hit a certain point, you ultimately become depressed in your own head. Like, you can't really relate to anyone. You kind of wish you were ignorant of certain things. You're intelligent. Intelligence hurts you.
Scraps from junkyards and jars of chemicals for making his bombs. Binders and binders full of notes.
Sad.
All kinds of disguises for delivering the bombs, like wigs and sunglasses,
Oh.
and shoes with fake soles. It's crammed to the gills, but meticulously organized. At this point, the FBI has zero promising leads, and by the end of it all, they'll never actually find the perpetrator themselves. The bomber is always several steps ahead of them. They'll pursue thousands of dead ends, spend hundreds of thousands of taxpayer dollars, and pour countless man hours into
taxpayer
this case.
dollars.
They have no idea why he's targeting the people that he is, but the bombs are so precise, so well crafted. There's gotta be a motive, right? In 1987, there's finally a break in the case. The Unabomber plants a package outside a Salt Lake City computer store, and a lady spots him. He's wearing a gray hoodie, sunglasses, and sporting a mustache. The police create a sketch and post it all around the country.
Whoa. This is famous. I've seen so many people using this picture for some reason.
Bombings immediately stop.
Yeah.
And for 5 years, nobody hears anything from the Unabomber.
Yeah, it's iconic.
All kinds of people call him with tips, but the leads go nowhere. The case pretty much goes cold. But the FBI know that it's only a matter of time before he'll strike again. They're sure he's using the time to perfect his bombs. And they're right.
Mm-hmm.
In his cabin, Ted is finessing his technique. The upcoming bombs will be a whole lot more lethal. But, as the world will soon find out, he is also busy writing. He doesn't just want his explosives to do the talking.
A manifesto.
He's crafting a manifesto.
Yeah.
One that claims to explain what the mysterious string of bombings is all about.
Ooh.
The Technophiles are taking us all on an utterly reckless ride into the unknown.
True! Not
Back
wrong!
at Harvard in 1958, the United States is
VTubers.
experiencing huge shifts in culture. The button-up 50s are drawing to a close, and the nation becomes swept up in the space race, the civil rights movement, the sexual revolution, the environmental movement, the explosion of drug culture, and all the while, the Cold War
The
is
fucking
escalating.
feds.
The American military is
Planning
paranoid
drugs
that
and
communists
shit.
have developed mind-control drugs and brainwashing techniques, and they're eager to catch up. So they're covertly experimenting with ways to manipulate behavior. U.S. intelligence officials are especially interested in developing a perfect truth drug for interrogating enemies, and they believe LSD might be it.
Yeah.
But they're also testing a wide range of ways that psychological manipulation
Stop
could bend the
it.
will of anyone to do whatever the U.S. military wants. They've even enlisted help from the Nazi scientists who experimented on Dachau inmates with hallucinogens and interrogation methods.
Classic.
The military illegally smuggles these war criminals over to get their advice on brainwashing, as part of Operation Paperclip.
MKUltra.
Over the course of at least 11 years, thousands of Americans are subjected to unethical psychological experiments.
And they don't even know
that include
about
sensory
it. The most fucked up thing is that they didn't even know about it, most of them.
deprivation, hallucinogenic drugs dosed without consent, subliminal messaging, hypnosis, electroshock therapy, and even ice pick lobotomies. And that's
Chat, what if I'm MKUltra and I just don't know it? Damn, dude. That'd be fucked
just the
up.
stuff we know about.
What if you're
When
one
the
of
project
them?
becomes public knowledge in the 1970s, the CIA director orders most of the records to be destroyed. The program is codenamed MKUltra. Many of the test subjects are vulnerable populations, like prisoners and hospital inmates, but also students. Students are prime subjects for these experiments because of their frequent contact with professors who play a big part in MKUltra.
Oh, and then they like they fucking groom them and shit, yeah. That's the most horrible thing. Like, not only did they just trick you, they have someone groom you.
Some of the professors know the role they play. Many don't. During the post-war period, the CIA becomes the largest employer of college professors, and the military is by far the biggest source of funding for psychological research. Professors acted as consultants and researchers for military-backed projects. They used their status to encourage their students to participate in experiments, often involving drugs like LSD. Afterwards, they reported back to the government. Harvard becomes heavily involved in Army-sponsored studies. One of the CIA's main men on campus is the superstar psych professor, Henry Murray.
Chad, the government would never do that.
Murray is well known for his studies of personality, and since the CIA's beginnings, his theories have influenced how they recruit new agents and how they interrogate suspects. When Murray and young Ted Kaczynski cross paths, Murray is at the end of his career, and he recruits Ted for his final, most elaborate experiments. They're meant to assess the effects of stress and harsh interrogation on gifted male students. Murray wants to know what will it take to break an educated, intelligent man. The setup is simple. Ted and 21 other students are asked to write an essay about their most deep-seated beliefs. Then they're told they'll discuss their beliefs with a fellow undergrad. The experiment aims to compare the effects of stress on college men who seem psychologically healthy and well-adjusted, with students who seem alienated, pessimistic, and lacking in identity. Ted is most likely recruited.
Most people are when they go to college. This is so fucked up. They're just toying with them.
Because he's showing signs of depression.
Oh, no,
Ted's personal essay stands out as the most pessimistic of them all. It suggests that he was already vulnerable before the abusive test began. He is also the youngest and the poorest in the group.
They're like, oh, he's the perfect candidate. He's the most fucked up one. We better fuck with him.
The students are told this exercise is just to study different personalities.
God, they're so scummy.
In truth, now the real experiment begins. The essays are handed to lawyers trained in manipulation, who are instructed to attack the values expressed in them. The students endure harsh interrogations in brightly lit rooms. They face calculated personal critiques designed to humiliate and erode their sense of self. All the while, electrodes monitor their stress responses. Later, they have to watch these stressful and humiliating moments on video. Over and over again. For 3 years.
For what purpose? And he was a kid!
As Murray himself describes it, the tests were designed to be abusive. He's had a lifelong fascination with pain and stress and is known to have a sadistic streak. Plenty of participants will later report the experience to be deeply unpleasant with lasting trauma. But Ted's responses are the most extreme in every category. Murray's team identifies him as the most traumatized of all.
Bro.
Yes, Ted Kaczynski got MKUltra'd. You can read all about it at CIA.gov.
Yes. Bro. Oh my god. Yeah, you can just read it, guys. You can read about how horrible the government was. Yeah, the government would never do that shit. They wouldn't keep doing this. No, they just stopped. Trust us.
In consequence, many claim the CIA created the Unabomber.
Yeah, I think so. I think that there are certain factors and they influenced him. He might have just been a normal dude with like a mental illness that could have just lived his life somewhere like in the middle of fucking nowhere.
But that's an oversimplification. It's not so easy to prove how much effect the experiments had on Ted's turn to terrorism.
No, you can't, but he could have been relatively normal or could have gotten help, at least to some extent. Yo, hi, Unabomber! Hello! We're watching the Unabomber.
None of the other students in the experiment are known to have become killers. Some psychologists believe the experiments were stressful enough to create anger problems in Ted, or even aggravate latent schizophrenia. But other psychologists evaluate him as undeniably sane. Ted himself dismissed the idea that the tests were anything resembling psychological torture. He was very invested in being seen as psychologically healthy until the bitter end. He's taking great pains to not be painted as damaged or crazy. He wanted his murders to be understood in the context of his beliefs,
That's sad.
not his personal history. If people saw his actions as a result of trauma or madness, it would invalidate his ideas.
I feel like that's just so much more sad than someone who like actually went clinically insane. Like you're actually aware of what you're doing and have reasoning. Whereas, like, insanity is, like, you can't even, like, remotely understand what's going on or, like, what's going through that person's head.
Formed his last year at Harvard.
What the fuck?
Ted becomes increasingly disillusioned with the industrial technological system. He comes to believe that technology is slowly destroying humanity and eroding our freedom.
A little bit. Not really wrong.
He's horrified by widespread psychological suffering and how industrial technology has severely damaged the planet.
I mean, chat, we have had an explosion of mental illness. I don't think he's that far off. Also, hi, kitty. Oh my god.
He's certain that it'll only get worse the more technology develops. So anyone who helps advance technology in any way is the enemy. Scientists, engineers, business people, what Ted calls the technician class.
Well, technically it's everybody, and that's the problem. Like, everybody's really helping.
Starts having revenge fantasies and becomes obsessed with how society enforces obedience with psychological controls.
Yeah.
He daydreams about breaking away from society and living off the grid. Ted graduates Harvard and goes on to get his PhD in math at the University of Michigan. He's quickly establishing himself as a brilliant mathematician and is offered a tenure-track position at UC Berkeley as their youngest professor ever.
Wow.
His students don't like him very much, but he's publishing groundbreaking papers on boundary functions.
People like who are really smart usually aren't very good at talking to people, and they're difficult.
But Ted resigns one day without warning. He tells his family that he's done with teaching math to future engineers who will advance the industrial technological system and continue destroying the planet. Ted buys a bit of land near Lincoln, Montana, and builds a cabin with his brother. He's ready to escape the advanced technology that surrounded him at UC Berkeley. He wants to live a simpler life, far away from everyone he's ever known. And then, he starts to build his first bomb.
Uh-oh. That's not good. That's not good at all, chat.
Through our bombings, we hope to promote social instability, an industrial society, propagate anti-industrial ideas, and give encouragement to those who hate the industrial system.
I mean, you should bomb them, though.
In 1993,
chat.
the Unabomber strikes twice after a 6-year hiatus. Two prominent researchers, a computer scientist and a geneticist, receive packages the size of a VHS tape.
Uh-oh.
The bombs detonate upon opening.
It's that violent?
Both professors are badly injured. Shortly after, the New York Times receives a typewritten letter. It claims credit for the bombs and says the public should expect more to come. In 1994 and 1995, the Unabomber succeeds in killing 2 people with his mail bombs, an advertising executive and a forestry lobbyist. As feared, his explosives have become notably more sophisticated. Bombings are usually accompanied with demands for money or some kind of action. What made the Unabomber so difficult to understand and to find is that his bombs never came with any requests. They seem to be built only to cause fear, injury, and death. 17 years after starting his bombing spree, the Unabomber finally makes it.
Is killing Borpas bad? Yes, it is very bad. Your point doesn't stick, and plus, who the fuck... Again, people have always said this. I've brought it up before with a certain other person in recent memory, Mr. Luigi. That wasn't a good thing that he did, man. He killed someone. You're not driving a point by killing someone. You left a guy without a family. Sure, he was a heartless bastard, but you're not solving anything. And if anything, you're probably just making it worse.
Demands known.
I hate corpus too. I hate the American healthcare system too. But I'm just saying, man, killing people's bad.
The New York Times again announces
Murder's
that
bad,
they will permanently
okay?
desist from terrorist
That's right.
activities if they publish a 56-page manifesto.
I understand his
the
pain,
request
though.
kicks off a fierce debate within the FBI and the newspaper to publish or not to publish. The FBI has a clear policy to not negotiate with terrorists, but they also believe he'll honor his promise and stop killing people. After all, this is what the bombs were seemingly for, to force people to pay attention to his views. Plus, they still lack leads. If the public reads the manifesto, someone might be able to identify the Unabomber, so the manifesto is published. The FBI decides it should just be the Washington Post, though, because it has fewer readers and the newspaper's stands will be easier to surveil. So they think. Interest in the Unabomber is huge. Newspaper sales hit a record high that day, with lines snaking around the block. Across the country,
yeah, this was before social media.
Americans are eager to finally read what the Unabomber has to say.
1992.
The manifesto opens with an iconic line. The Industrial Revolution and its consequences have been a disaster for the human race.
True.
And though the manifesto is an argument that calls for dismantling industrial society, it's also, unwittingly, a self-portrait. Within its pages, the Unabomber has accidentally unmasked himself.
Uncle
David
Ted.
and Ted, though 7 years apart and very different, grew up close and loved each other very much. As adults, they had impassioned philosophical debates by mail and shared a lot of the same views.
Aww.
David also worried about technology's destructive effect on humanity. He'd also spent some time living off the grid in a self-made cabin. But David wasn't a killer. When the manifesto is published, he hasn't spoken to his brother in a long time. Ted cut him out when David got married and refused to answer any of his letters.
Aww,
David's
that's
wife
so
Linda,
sad.
a philosophy professor, has a funny feeling about Ted, whom she never met. As the bombings stack up and some of the timings coincide with Ted's travels,
Is he the original incel?
Linda tells David, "You've got a screwy brother. Maybe he's the Unabomber."
What?
David doesn't want to hear it.
No
Linda doesn't know
fucking
Ted the way David
way.
does. He'd
She
never kill
called
anybody.
it?
As a kid, Ted used to cry at the thought of animals getting hurt. But when
Aww.
the manifesto is finally published, David avoids reading it.
Oh, but with the bomb, it's not personal. Like, I feel like killers so like the sign of like kids killing animals, that's usually a sign of being a murderer and stuff. I think that with how he functions with his killings, it's not personal. He's not doing the direct killing.
He doesn't want
It's
to admit the similarities.
detached.
That, like the Unabomber,
It's kind of like a sniper looking down a scope from really far away. Like you don't really like, obviously you killed someone, but like it's not like right there, like a visceral killing.
Ted
Yeah.
is an excellent carpenter, and that he had a lifelong fascination with explosives, and that some of the dates match up perfectly with Ted's travels.
Oh shit.
David only reads it when Linda insists. His jaw literally drops from the first few lines. The killer, like Ted, also hates technology.
Oh no.
As he continues,
His
David
brother
recognizes
knows.
idiosyncratic word choices and logical arguments that Ted uses all the time. There is no escaping the truth. Ted is the Unabomber.
Dude, imagine finding out your sibling, like you loved your sibling, and finding out he's a killer.
So after some moral qualms about betraying
Oh
his
my
brother,
god.
David alerts the FBI.
Damn. That's cold.
They are bound to make me out to be a sickie, and to ascribe to me motives of a sordid, or sick type. Many tame conformist types seem to have a powerful need to depict the enemy of society as sordid,
Yeah.
repulsive, or sick.
Yeah.
Lincoln,
Montana.
April 1996. With the tip from David, the feds are staking out Ted's cabin. The investigation is meant to be conducted quietly, but they're interviewing local townspeople,
Oh my
trying to collect more
God.
evidence on Ted.
Fucking cops, what are you doing?
Right now, all they have is the linguistic similarities in the manifesto and old letters from Ted that David gave the FBI. Not exactly cold, hard proof. Enough for a search warrant, but not an arrest. Rumors start to spread around town that Ted Kaczynski, their very own angry hermit, is the Unabomber. The plan is to draw Ted out of his cabin and get inside before he can escape or destroy any evidence. But they don't know if he has it tricked out with explosives. Nobody would be surprised if he did.
Yeah, it's likely. He's really smart.
Ted has no idea he's under surveillance, so when someone knocks and says some land surveyors need to talk, he believes them and opens the door. He
No
wasn't expecting
way!
visitors.
It works!
These days, he's busy with a dirty job. He's in the middle of rasping aluminum blocks to make powder for more bombs. He's covered from head to toe in the dust. He's rail thin because the rabbit hunting was scarce this season. Ted's hair is wild and his clothes are literally rotting off of his body. But what does he care? He's not trying to impress anyone, and he can clean up fast if he needs to blend into society.
True.
Too bad for Ted. He'll be photographed in this state, filthy, emaciated, and in severe need of a shave.
Fucking
The image will
Uncle
circulate
Ted,
around
man.
the globe and will not help Ted's desire to seem sane. When the feds swoop in, they find 40,000 pages of journals and plans, most written in code. The code is more complex than anything the FBI had ever seen,
Oh my god, yeah, he's a famous fucking mathematician.
more convoluted than codes the KGB used during the Cold War. But Ted also left the key to the code in the cabin. Without it, the FBI wouldn't be able to decipher the decades of written confessions that definitively tied Ted to the
Wow.
bombings. They also find a bomb under the bed, ready to be mailed to an aerospace company in Dallas. Now
Oh,
the
wait,
FBI
I heard
has all
about
the evidence
that.
they need. They lock up the cabin and take Ted to prison. He does not dispute that the journals with the confessions are his. In
Well,
fact,
who
he wrote
else
them
would write
partially
them?
so that nobody would try to say he was crazy. Ted's family and his defense team attempt to convince the jury and the world at large that he is mentally ill. They're doing anything they can to avoid the death penalty, which frustrates him. He tries to fire his lawyers and defend himself. He would rather die than allow
Wait, that's so based. I don't know why, but that's so strong.
his lawyers to plead not guilty by reason of insanity.
Wow.
Ted pleads guilty to his crimes and is sentenced to life in prison.
He's like, fuck them lawyers. I
Behind
don't
bars,
trust
He
them.
never stops writing. He publishes 2 books and keeps up a lively correspondence with a wide array of journalists and admirers.
Huh.
He also finally makes some human connections. He strikes up a friendship with Timothy McVeigh, the Oklahoma City bomber who killed 168 people in 1995. Ted and McVeigh are briefly on the same prison block and find they have a lot of views in common, before McVeigh is carted off to death row. Ted even finds love for the first time in his life. After a lifetime of struggling to connect with women and never going beyond a few kisses, Ted suddenly has dozens of women writing him romantic or salacious letters.
Oh, of course they did. Those are the women that simp over fucking prisoners. Nah, that's fake love, Ted. Nah, that's fake love. That's fake love. Don't listen to those bitches. Classic women. No, for real. Remember that guy that went to prison and he killed like a toddler and ran him over like 3 times with a car, and there were still women that were like, I can fix him. I can fix him. Oh, he's so hot. Look at him. He's so dangerous. Do you guys remember that? That's like a really old video I watched.
But only one captures his heart, a school teacher he calls his lady love. They spend thousands of hours talking by mail or in
Nah, man, I don't believe in this prison bullshit. Like, women and men who send letters to prisoners that do horrible shit, nah.
visiting booths, but they are never able to
Nah.
touch. He writes classical music for her before she dies of lung cancer.
Aw.
Later,
kinda
Ted
sad.
also develops cancer. When the condition becomes advanced, he dies by suicide in June 2023 at 81 years old.
Wait, yeah, he killed himself.
This is not to be a political revolution. Its object will be to overthrow not governments,
The
but
human
the economic
revolution,
and technological
bro.
basis of the present society. In the decades since his arrest, Ted Kaczynski continues to fascinate and sometimes inspire. The manifesto's central argument is that technological advancements since the Industrial Revolution have robbed people of their freedom and well-being.
He's not really wrong. Like, I feel like crazy people don't... Absolutely insane people don't say shit like that, man.
These advancements are supposedly responsible for widespread
Everything is
psychological
wrong.
suffering and environmental devastation. It's a revolutionary call to dismantle industrial society altogether,
It's not gonna
and warns that
happen, though.
technology will inevitably overpower human autonomy. Many of Kaczynski's observations in the manifesto are true. Some of his predictions are prescient, and a lot of the grievances are understandable. It's not
And, man, if he knew what happened in 2020... Do you think he knew about VTubers, bro? I doubt it, but he'd probably be like, yes, of course. This makes so much sense.
hard to find people who are also frustrated with surveillance or sad about environmental destruction. At the time of his capture, Time magazine wrote, "There's a little bit of the Unabomber in most of us." Nowadays, Ted Kaczynski continues to find admirers online, from teens on TikTok,
A fucking Sonic meme?
pressed about climate change, half ironically saluting Uncle Ted, to the extreme right mass murderer, Anders Breivik, who heavily quoted Kaczynski's industrial society in his own manifesto. But even if most people can find parts in the manifesto they agree with, most people are not willing to kill.
No.
Kaczynski knew that most people would be repelled
I'd
by his
hope not.
crimes, but committed them anyway. Those who find the ideas compelling might want to check out Jacques Ellul, the thinker whose ideas most inspired the manifesto.
Oh,
The philosopher never
wow.
advocated killing. They also should check out Ted Kaczynski's diaries. They lay bare the personal motivations that drove the Unabomber, beyond the manifesto that was polished for public consumption. Technological society really did seem to anger Ted, but Ted was also very, very angry, in general.
A lot of really smart people are.
In his diary, Ted Kaczynski writes that he was happy to kill innocent civilians. He took pleasure in causing people pain. He killed at least 9 dogs just because they barked too loud.
Aww.
He hated leftists. He hated doctors. He hated women. He fantasized about killing them just for rejecting him.
What?
He fantasized about killing his neighbors just
Okay, whoa, whoa, whoa,
Because
whoa,
they
whoa,
annoyed
whoa,
him,
whoa,
including a
whoa,
toddler.
whoa, no killing.
condemned technology as slavery and glorified simpler times that ran on. actual slavery.
What?
Kaczynski wasn't even much
Okay,
of an
never
environmentalist.
mind.
He made fun of them in his diaries. He
Nah.
littered proudly. He poached illegally. He logged on protected lands. You might get the sense that he only used environmentalism as a post hoc justification for his murders. A cynic who identified
Maybe don't
ecological
glorify him,
concerns
chat.
as the most acceptable excuse for killing.
He might have said a lot of right things, but that's fucked up. That was really good. That was really good production, chat. MKUltra was a hell of a drug. Again, I do believe that to some extent, like, things like that can absolutely escalate your mental illness. I believe going on Twitter every single day and writing stupid shit affects your mental health. Yeah. Go check him out. Go check out Fern. That was really good. That was awesome. Amazing, even.
Fire, 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 fire.